friends, good morning or afternoon or night depending on where you are. I am Jessie and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about my journey so far as an artist and what has brought me to living in Belgium. And just so you know, I will be making this plushie while talking to you guys, so you don't have to feel like you need to have the video in front of you. You can put me on the side, on the background while you draw or while you clean your room or do the dishes, or you just want to have a cup of tea. We are going to have a nice conversation today. So hi again, I'm Jessie. I'm an illustrator from Mexico and I just moved to Brussels a couple of months ago. So I bet you're thinking right now, oh, how the heck did this girl from Mexico end up in such a small country in Europe? Like, how is that possible? So I will share my journey with you as to what I'm doing here and how I got here and all that tea. So I grew up in Mexico, did my studies there until 7th grade, and then I moved to Niagara Falls for a year when I was about 12, and I believe that is how I ended up learning English so well, or at least congruently, or maybe not so much. Because I was living with a Canadian host family for that whole school year. And so that really helped me to learn English because I spoke English every single day during that school year. After living in Canada, I moved back to Mexico and finished my studies for middle school and high school. During high school, I took some French classes, which eventually helped me get adapted over here. So we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so I finished high school and then I did a gap year of traveling and community service and performing arts. We were like a group of about 100 or 120 people. We were all between the ages of 18 to 29, so everyone was kind of like in their 20s. We were from different countries, and every week we traveled to a new city, and every month to a different country, and sometimes even a different continent. I loved using this time to travel because it really allowed me to get out of my comfort zone in so many ways, like talking in public or trying new foods or traveling in places where I didn't know the language. I went to different countries like Taiwan and the Philippines and Austria and Liechtenstein and Switzerland. So yeah, I definitely didn't know the languages for all the countries, so it definitely was a good experience to get out of my comfort zone. And after this gap year, I was like, okay, it's time to start thinking about what I'm gonna do for a living and where I'm gonna go to college. So I was looking for like portfolio summer classes, and I found one in Paris that was exactly that. It was a preparatory year to help students create an art portfolio, I was exactly looking for that. I used that time to not only make an art portfolio but also apply to different art schools because I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay in Paris or go abroad. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna use this time to do my research and draw and get better at all this application stuff. So during that time I went to an all French speaking school. But yeah, at the beginning it was kind of hard because all my classmates were French speakers. They didn't, I don't think they knew English that well. So even though I had learned French during high school, I definitely did not know how to speak it like at all. Like maybe just some basic things. But I certainly did not feel like congruent enough to hold a conversation. Even though if someone would speak to me, I was like, okay, I understand what they're saying, but I don't know what to answer because I had to translate everything from Spanish to French, so that would always take me such a long time. So yeah, it was a mess. So the first month or so was quite hard to adapt, but eventually I ended up learning French because my friends were only French speakers, so I kind of had to force myself into speaking in order to understand them. Also, I was able to very much appreciate the culture, like the French culture, the way of living, the language. It was great. When I finished my preparatory year, I got accepted into different art schools, and I decided to go to one that I really liked. That was like my top one school, and this one was in New York, and I absolutely loved studying in this school. The art scene was amazing, the coffee shop scenes was amazing. Like, I was super into going to coffee shops and just drawing, and I loved that there was this culture of thrifting, of going biking, of walking a lot outdoors in the city. And obviously the pizza was really cheap and really good, and the bagels in Brooklyn were amazing. Well, I had recently graduated from art school in 2019 when I decided to move to Paris right after my communication design degree. So during these studies, I was able to, it was called communication design. We basically did advertisement and illustration and graphic design, but I mostly focused on illustration. When I started art school, I actually did mostly graphic design, but I felt like I was more into the illustration part of it, but I didn't know much about illustration per se at that moment. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna start safe and do graphic design because I know that's what companies usually like. So I started school doing graphic design and eventually switched to the concentration in illustration. And during that time, when I was in New York, I was able to do different internships. I was able to do murals and work with advertising gigs and industries. It was really good as a student of art to study in New York because I feel like I got so many opportunities, and the art scene was amazing, and all my classmates were like super motivated, super inspired, super talented. Now in 2020, I took the big decision to move to Belgium because guess what? I got married to my homeboy. And in case you didn't know, we had been in a long distance relationship for a long time. So if you have been in one, you know how hard it could be to be in long distance relationships sometimes. But anyways, we decided to get engaged and move in together after 3 years of long distance. And we chose Brussels because the art scene here was really big, especially for comic books and illustration. And also, homeboy is from Belgium, so we were thinking like, okay, if we move to the city, there's job opportunities for the two of us. Now, the hassle so far has been that, well, the confinement happened by the time we moved to Belgium. So, I mean, there was not a lot to do outside of the house because we had to be inside all the time. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to draw more and use this time to draw more. But if I am being really honest, confinement in 2020 was really hard and so not easy to get inspired to draw. I really wish I had drawn more, but it was just really hard to concentrate and try to be creative when there was like so many stuff happening in the world, and it was already like a lot to even be home all the time. So there was just so much stress to make art, and that same stress made being creative like stressful. It was just not working. So it wasn't until 2020 that I was like, okay, you know what? We're gonna start this journey called drawing every day. And that is what I have been doing so far this 2020. It was really one of my resolutions for this year to really just sit every day at my desk at 9 a.m. because we're still in confinement, and then just draw every single day at least a line a day, because this really helped not only to draw, but because if you say, okay, I'm gonna draw one line in my sketchbook, you end up not drawing just a line, you know, like you end up filling the whole page, or even just doing one sketch, which is exactly what I wanted to get myself accustomed to doing. So yeah, for now, I have been in Brussels for a couple of months now. We're still in confinement, but I have been using this time to really draw every day, to get to know you guys, and to just learn more about the illustration industry from home. And I'm really excited for this new adventure, and even though there are still so many unknowns and so many questions about the future and everything is uncertain, I am sure that this is still gonna be a better year than last year, and I don't want to jinx it, so I'm gonna knock on wood right now. But yeah, even though I think it's gonna be kind of similar to last year, I think it's definitely gonna be slightly better, because at least we know what we're getting ourselves into, especially with confinement. Thank you guys for watching, if you watched this far or if you just listened to me. I hope that we get to know each other better, that we get to inspire and motivate each other. Thank you so much, and if you liked this video or if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe or give it a like. Bye bye!